it's me. Welcome back to my channel. Before we start, I'm just gonna address my comeback to doing videos. I've tried to do a comeback video several times. You guys are aware of it. You guys have seen it on my channel. By the way, I'm sorry that my voice sounds so bad. It's just like, well, number one, I don't have a proper mic or whatever. I'm just filming on my phone, and I like it like that so far. Maybe I'll upgrade later on. And number two, I have been fighting this infection in my throat area, in my ear, so my voice was gone for some time, but that's okay. We're gonna get back to it. So I just wanted to make this video because I really miss chatting with you guys about the books that I've been reading. I haven't stopped reading. I just been really busy with work, school, and other personal stuff that just be keeping me away from filming and editing my videos and uploading them and all of that. But without further ado, let's get right into the video. So here I have the books that I've read through August, and I just wanted to quickly show you guys. So we read Pet Cemetery by Stephen, Shatter Me by this new author that I'm really not aware of, because these two books was actually recommended by one of my closest friends, which I am really happy about because I ended up really liking them. And then we read Cinder, which is one of the books, was the first book of the Lunar series. And then we had Jane Eyre from what's her name, Charles Bronte. All right, so we're gonna start with this book, which is the last one that I recently finished, and it's the one that I remember the most about. So basically this book follows a family that moves into this town, and they just bought this house and they're really excited. The house is set in an area where there's like a road, and it's a very dangerous road because there's a lot of heavy trucks going through it, and it's not really safe. And it follows this family when they're like there enjoying this new life that they're trying to build in this small town. Also, they have this neighbor who lives right across the street, who happens to know every dark secret of this town, and it shows them in the very first of the book, which is why I'm telling you guys now. This is not a spoiler or anything. It shows them like a pet cemetery that is right on a pathway behind their house area, up going to a hill, because in this house they have like this big land that belongs to the owners of the house, or whoever the owner of the house might be, and that's what this area is for them too. And he just kind of shows us like, hey, if you have a pet, which they do have a pet, is a cat named I forgot the name, but they call him Church for short. And they had this pet and be like, hey, every pet that somebody has had in this town, if something happens to them, this is where you would bury them, because the kids love to have a cemetery. It doesn't make sense to me, to be honest, why these kids have this pet cemetery, but I guess all of us who ever had an animal or a pet will always just care about them, and whenever something happened to them at the end, we're just like, we gotta bury them, because that's what we normally would think of. Anyway, so this sits on a very mysterious situation with this cemetery, and a lot of things happens. I don't want to get really into it because I don't want to spoil it, but it's just a really good book, especially for those who love to read horror. This is a perfect book to read throughout October. For me, it wasn't as scary as other books that I've read of Stephen, but I think it is a very good start on his type of writing style, let's just say that. But it's not gonna be a reread for me, unfortunately, because I'm not a horror reader and not really a fan of it. I just kind of wanted to try something different, and I have read other books of him that are not as scary or whatever, but I just feel like for now, so far, I'm gonna take a break from Stephen, and this is the last book that I read, which I ended up enjoying it a lot. Okay, next book on the list is Shatter Me. This is book 1 of this series. I believe we have, how many books? There's 4 books, and this is the first one. I'm in love with this. So this basically follows the story of a girl who was born with these unusual powers, and she can be touched, because unfortunately if you touch her you will die. Maybe not immediately, but you will be suffering until you die. And unfortunately, her powers don't seem allow her to let you go simply because she doesn't know how to control them. So for most of her life, she is being in this asylum, whatever, where they kept her because they were afraid of her, whatever. There's this big war going on. The world has gone sideways. Everybody's family has been torn apart, and it basically follows her getting out of this place and trying to fight this battle against people who think they're doing what is right and other people who just confusing the good people out of the bad people. It's just a very good story. It also follows this guy that is with her, and there's two of them. One of them offers to help her out. The other one thinks that he's helping her out, but it actually trying to get advantage of her powers. And they keep switching back and forth who is the good guy, who is the bad guy. So I just feel like it's a very good, interesting fantasy book. I love when we finally discover her true powers and what else she can do. I just feel that this is an excellent read for those who really getting into fantasy or something like that. I love this series. I can't wait to read book 2, which is Unravel Me, and I can't wait to go get it. So as soon as I get it, I'll give you guys an update. Next book that we have read is the Lunar series, book 1, Cinder. I am obsessed with this series. Let me just say that my friend, the same one that recommended the last book that I talked about, recommended this one as well. It's basically a retelling of Cinderella with a cyborg twist, which I'm all up for it. And it connects to a series of books right here that also follows other characters that we know about in our traditional classical fairy tales, but they have a cyber twist, and I just feel that it's a really, really good book. And the whole series, I can't wait to get even more deeper into it. So we follow Cinder, which is the first main character, and her life, as we know, with his stepmother, the stepsisters. I like the relationship between them. I love that there was a nice relationship between one of the stepsisters and her in this version of the book, because we know in Cinderella, the actual version, they don't really get along. And so I like that at least you have that one partner for a short period of time. I don't want to get into spoiler, but I just feel that I just really, really enjoyed it. Also, the scene of the ball, yeah, the ball was, oh my god, this was a part where I was like on the edge of my seat. I was so excited. This ball was so tasty. I just love what the writer did with this scene, and I can't wait to read the other book. What I love about this book is that they usually end on a position where you're just like, okay, what's gonna happen next? So you have to read the next book in order for you to actually know what's gonna happen. So I just love this series. So Cinder, I absolutely recommend to pick it up. Last book that we're going to talk about is Jane Eyre, which is a very popular classic. I feel like everybody who's gone to school in any place of the world, or if you ever been to books ever since you were young, at some point you have heard about Jane Eyre, and at some point you might have read it for a school project, for anything. I just feel that this book is so good. Like, I love books that are set back in the days. I love books that is all about being on this setting in these towns with ladies and people were just like completely the opposite of how we are now. I just love feeling there, and I feel like this book and following this personal character is just so interesting to me. There are some things that I wish I would have a little bit more. For example, it follows the story of this girl whose family, her parents passed away, and she's left under the care of her uncle's wife, which her uncle also fortunately passed away. And the wife doesn't really love her at all. She kind of has this burden, and she feels that this child is just so malignant and she needs to get rid of her. So she kind of just try to be like, I need to get rid of this girl. So she sends her away to school, which at the beginning Jane Eyre was really excited about, because she kind of wanted to go to school. She needed a change of scenery or whatever, but she ended up just kind of letting her there in the school. It was boarding school. She never got picked up, and she grew up there until she finally found this way of like, I'm old enough to get out of this place and go find my own way. So she ended up getting this job as a teacher, like a personal teacher to a child in one of these very remote towns, and she's gonna spend her times there kind of teaching this child to read, write, whatever, you know, the regular stuff. And she ends up finding so many great people, also finding her battles, as in like her personality, how she was before, who she is as a person. She ends up finding herself, what is love, what it is to be with somebody, all these type of things. And I just feel like this book is just so good to me. I just enjoyed it so much, and I actually read it twice before this video. So I don't know, just pick up Jane Eyre if you're really into classics, and if you really want to try classics, Jane Eyre, definitely. Okay, that's it from this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoy.